Welcome to a night of chilling tales and spine-tingling suspense. In tonight's video, we dive into 3 harrowing stories that will make your blood run cold. Join us as we unravel a sinister ritual tied to an ancient harvest moon and a cursed sonata that binds a gifted musician to a deadly pact. Turn off the lights, settle in, and prepare for a journey into the darkest corners of fear. This is Fear Files, where every story leaves a mark. Dare to watch till the end?
The town of Eldridge lay shrouded in a dense fog that seemed to thicken as the harvest moon loomed overhead. Nestled deep within the mountains, Eldridge was a picturesque locale with cobblestone streets and ivy-clad houses, its charm hiding dark secrets that its inhabitants kept closely guarded. For the unknowing outsider, it appeared to be a quaint, idyllic retreat, but beneath its serene facade lay a centuries-old tradition that was anything but ordinary. Cole Carter, a travel journalist, had recently arrived in Eldridge, seeking to cover a feature on local folklore. His fascination with the supernatural and the unexplained had led him to this isolated town, eager to unravel the mysteries it promised. Cole was an adventurous soul, confident and curious, driven by a need to uncover the truth behind legends and rituals. With a keen eye for detail and an unshakable skepticism, he was determined to document the town's unique traditions, even if they seemed unusual at first glance. On his first night in town, Cole was greeted warmly by the townspeople, including the charismatic mayor Eliza Blackwood. The mayor, in her early 50s, exuded an air of authority and charm, her presence commanding respect and admiration from the community. Her welcoming demeanor masked the shadowy depths of her true intentions. The town was abuzz with preparations for the Harvest Moon Festival, a time when Eldridge supposedly celebrated its rich traditions. The festival's central event was the unveiling of the Harvest Ritual, which Cole initially believed to be a harmless cultural practice. As the days passed, however, he began to notice peculiarities. The once welcoming townsfolk grew increasingly distant, and the atmosphere around the town took on an eerie, almost sinister quality. On the eve of the harvest moon, Cole decided to explore the town's surroundings, hoping to gather more material for his article. As he ventured through the fog-draped streets, he stumbled upon a neglected, overgrown graveyard on the outskirts of town. The graveyard, with its crumbling tombstones and weeping willows, seemed untouched by time, an ancient relic hidden from the town's polished exterior. It was here, amidst the decay and shadows, that Cole noticed something unusual, a fresh bouquet of flowers laid upon an unmarked grave. The grave, neglected and hidden by overgrown weeds, seemed out of place in the otherwise forgotten cemetery. Driven by curiosity, Cole began to investigate, uncovering a hidden burial ground that revealed a tragic love story buried beneath layers of time. The unmarked grave belonged to 2 star-crossed lovers who had perished under mysterious and tragic circumstances. As Cole delved into their story, he discovered that the lovers had been the victims of a sinister plot orchestrated by the town's ancestors. Their love had been thwarted by betrayal and dark forces, and their souls had been condemned to wander in torment for centuries. The more Cole uncovered, the more he realized that the Harvest Moon ritual was not just a festival, but a sacrificial ceremony meant to appease an otherworldly entity that demanded a soul every century in exchange for the town's prosperity. The fresh flowers on the grave were a sign that someone was trying to honor the memory of the lovers, but the true horror lay in the ritual that would seal the fate of a new victim. As Cole pieced together the lovers' tragic fate, the atmosphere in Eldridge grew increasingly oppressive. Strange symbols began to appear around the town, illuminated by the harvest moon's eerie glow. Whispers of ancient incantations and the haunting cries of restless spirits filled the air. The townsfolk, who had once seemed friendly, now revealed their true malevolent nature as they prepared for the ritual. Mayor Blackwood's facade of civility cracked, revealing her unwavering commitment to the town's dark traditions. She had maintained the town's prosperity through dark rituals and sacrifices, and the Harvest Moon ritual was the culmination of her efforts. The mayor's eyes, once warm and inviting, now glinted with a cold, calculating malice as she oversaw the preparations for the ritual. Cole found himself trapped in a nightmarish scenario where escape seemed impossible. The townspeople, once welcoming, now treated him with thinly veiled hostility, and the town's serene exterior had given way to a labyrinth of fear and malevolence. The harvest moon, bright and ominous, cast an eerie glow over the proceedings, its light revealing the dark truth of Eldridge's traditions. Navigating through mist-shrouded tombstones and ancient crypts, Cole faced terrifying apparitions and the growing hostility of the townsfolk. The once beautiful town now seemed like a twisted reflection of its former self, where the boundaries between the living and the dead blurred. The spirits of the star-crossed lovers appeared to Cole, their ghostly forms pleading for help as they remained trapped between worlds, seeking closure for their tragic fate. As the harvest moon reached its zenith, the ritual's dark climax approached. Cole's desperation to escape became a fight against time and malevolent forces. The town's ancient curse had claimed countless victims before, and now it was his turn to either break the cycle or become another lost soul. In a climactic confrontation with Mayor Blackwood and the ritual's dark entity, Cole uncovered the full extent of the town's ancient curse and the true nature of the sacrifice. The entity that demanded the sacrifices was a malevolent force that thrived on the suffering of the innocent, and the ritual was designed to keep it at bay for another century. Cole's battle to break the cycle of torment and save himself from becoming another victim of the Harvest Moon ritual led to a final, harrowing choice. The battle was fierce and fraught with terror as Cole faced off against the entity and the vengeful spirits of the past. Using the knowledge he had uncovered and the strength of his will, he fought to disrupt the ritual and free the souls trapped by the town's dark traditions. The final confrontation was a whirlwind of shadows, screams, and desperate cries as Cole struggled to escape the clutches of the ritual and save himself from becoming another sacrifice. As the mist lifted and the dawn broke over Eldridge, the legacy of the Harvest Moon ritual left an indelible mark on Cole. The once quiet town, now exposed for its dark traditions, would never be the same again. Haunted by the spirits of the past and the echoes of a forgotten ritual. The town's prosperity was now tainted by the truth of its sacrifices, and the harvest moon, once a symbol of hope and renewal, had become a harbinger of fear and darkness. Cole's ordeal in Eldridge was a chilling testament to the lengths to which people would go to protect their way of life, and the dark secrets that lay hidden beneath the surface of seemingly idyllic towns. The story of the Harvest Moon ritual became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the horrors that could lurk behind even the most charming facades. As he left Eldridge behind, Cole carried with him the weight of the town's dark legacy and the haunting memories of the spirits he had encountered. The Harvest Moon, now a symbol of fear and dread, cast its shadow over his memories, forever altering his perception of folklore and the supernatural. The once idyllic town had left an indelible mark on his soul, a reminder of the darkness that could lie hidden beneath even the most serene of surfaces. In the quiet town of Ravenwood, nestled in the fog-laden hills, stood an imposing Victorian mansion known as Hart Manor. The mansion, with its towering spires and ivy-clad walls, had been in the Hart family for generations, its grand halls echoing with the whispers of history. Evelyn Hart, a historian with a keen interest in antiquities, had recently inherited the mansion following the death of her estranged grandmother. Among the belongings was an ornate family heirloom, a bejeweled amulet with intricate carvings. The mansion was a relic from a bygone era, with its dark wood paneling, ornate moldings, and dusty, cobweb-draped corners. Its creaking floors and shadowy corners seemed to hold secrets of their own, contributing to the atmosphere of unease that Evelyn felt as she moved into her new home. On her first night in the mansion, Evelyn was unable to shake a sense of foreboding. The grand old house, with its sprawling wings and labyrinthine corridors, seemed to breathe in the dark, its silence punctuated by the occasional groan of settling wood or the distant howl of the wind. She settled into her new bedroom, the walls adorned with faded portraits of ancestors whose eyes seemed to follow her every move. Among the belongings was the amulet, which she had placed on a small antique table beside her bed. As night deepened, Evelyn struggled to sleep. The amulet's surface seemed to shimmer in the dim light, casting strange reflections across the room. Shadows danced on the walls as if alive, and a chill hung in the air. Evelyn attributed these feelings to the mansion's age and her own apprehension about moving into such a grand but eerie residence. The following morning, Evelyn set about exploring the mansion, determined to familiarize herself with its layout. She discovered that the attic was a treasure trove of her family's history, filled with dusty trunks, old letters, and faded photographs. Among the attic's clutter, Evelyn found an old journal belonging to her grandmother, its leather cover cracked and worn. Intrigued, she began reading the journal, hoping to learn more about her family's history and the inheritance she had received. The journal recounted various aspects of her grandmother's life, but also contained disturbing entries about a family curse tied to the amulet. The writings described a dark tradition that had persisted for centuries. Every 100 years, a member of the Hart family was chosen as a sacrificial offering to appease a malevolent entity that demanded souls in exchange for prosperity. The journal spoke of ritualistic ceremonies, secret meetings, and an ever-present sense of dread that had plagued the family for generations. As Evelyn read further, she came across cryptic passages warning about the amulet's power. It was said that the amulet could manipulate reality, driving its bearer to madness and despair, preparing them for the ritual sacrifice. The more Evelyn read, the more she felt a growing sense of dread and disbelief. Could her grandmother's warnings be true? And if so, how could she break free from such a fate? Determined to get to the bottom of the mystery, Evelyn began researching the amulet's origins. She visited local archives and spoke with historians, piecing together fragments of the curse's history. The more she learned, the more she became entangled in the dark legacy of her family. The amulet's influence seemed to manifest in increasingly disturbing ways. Eerie visions, unexplained noises, and a pervasive sense of being watched. One night, as the harvest moon rose high in the sky, Evelyn noticed something unusual. Fresh flowers had been placed at an old, neglected grave in the mansion's overgrown garden. The grave, once obscured by years of neglect, seemed to have been recently tended. The sight was both puzzling and unsettling, prompting Evelyn to investigate further. The grave belonged to a long-forgotten family member whose name was barely legible on the weathered headstone. As Evelyn cleared away the overgrown foliage, she discovered a hidden burial ground beneath the grave. The ground was disturbed, revealing a trove of ancient artifacts and symbols etched into the soil. It was clear that these artifacts were not merely remnants of the past, but had been deliberately buried and hidden. Evelyn's discovery was both fascinating and terrifying. She unearthed a collection of old letters, diaries, and strange symbols that hinted at a secret society bound to the ritual sacrifices. The letters spoke of a pact made with the entity, a promise of prosperity in exchange for souls. Evelyn realized that the ritual was not just a relic of the past, but an ongoing threat that had continued to claim lives throughout the generations. As the moon waxed, Evelyn's investigations took a more ominous turn. Strange occurrences began to plague her. Doors creaked open on their own, whispers filled the air, and shadows seemed to move with a life of their own. The mansion, once a grand home, now felt like a prison closing in on her. Evelyn reached out to local experts and historians, hoping to find any additional clues or advice. Many were skeptical or unwilling to speak openly, but she eventually found an elderly historian named Mr. Sullivan, who seemed to have knowledge of the Hart family's dark history. Mr. Sullivan explained that the town's prosperity had long been linked to the rituals performed by the Hart family. He spoke of the entity as an ancient force that could manipulate reality and bend it to its will. Evelyn's conversations with Mr. Sullivan revealed that the harvest moon was a time of great power for the entity. The ritual was scheduled to take place on the night of the full moon, and the townsfolk's seemingly warm demeanor was a facade for their true intentions. The town's apparent friendliness was a mask for their participation in the dark ritual. As the night of the ritual approached, Evelyn's fears escalated. The mansion seemed to come alive with supernatural forces, its halls echoing with unsettling noises and ghostly apparitions. Shadows twisted into grotesque shapes, and Evelyn found herself pursued by phantom figures that seemed to emerge from the walls. On the night of the harvest moon, Evelyn was confronted by the entity itself. The air was thick with dread as the full moon illuminated the mansion's grounds. The entity manifested as a shadowy figure, its form ever-shifting and its eyes glowing with a malevolent hunger. It spoke in a voice that echoed with centuries of rage and sorrow, revealing that Evelyn was to be the next sacrifice. Desperate to escape her fate, Evelyn confronted the entity with the knowledge she had gathered. She used the symbols and incantations she had uncovered to attempt a banishment. The mansion became a battleground of supernatural forces, its corridors twisting into a nightmarish labyrinth. The ritual's power surged, and the very fabric of reality seemed to tear apart as Evelyn fought to hold on to her sanity. The struggle was fierce and harrowing. Evelyn invoked the ancient words of the incantation, hoping to break the curse and free herself from the entity's grasp. The mansion seemed to resist, its walls groaning and shifting as if alive. Shadows and apparitions swirled around her, their wails of despair and anger mingling with the entity's chilling laughter. In a final, desperate act, Evelyn managed to complete the ritual, using the amulet's own power against the entity. The entity let out a final, terrifying scream as it was banished, its form dissipating into the darkness. The mansion fell silent, the oppressive atmosphere lifting as the curse was finally broken. Evelyn, though victorious, was deeply scarred by the ordeal. The mansion, once a symbol of her family's grandeur, now bore the marks of the battle fought within its walls. The amulet, now powerless, was placed in a local museum, where it served as a grim reminder of the darkness that had once consumed her family. Evelyn chose to leave Ravenwood, her victory coming at the cost of her peace of mind. She knew that while the curse had been lifted, the legacy of the cursed heirloom had left its mark. The mansion was left behind, a silent witness to the horrors that had unfolded within its grand, shadowed halls. As she drove away from Ravenwood, Evelyn glanced back at the distant silhouette of Hart Manor, now a fading memory. She hoped that the town would eventually heal from the darkness that had plagued it for centuries. The amulet story would remain a cautionary tale, a reminder of the lengths to which people would go to escape the clutches of ancient curses and the supernatural forces that lie beyond. The The Starlight Auditorium, nestled in the remote mountain town of Briar Hollow, stood as a shadow of its former grandeur. Once the pride of the town, the concert hall now lay abandoned, its rich history overshadowed by decay and neglect. Crumbling walls and faded velvet drapes whispered tales of opulence long gone. The air was thick with dust and the scent of mildew, a testament to decades of disuse. Elena Hartwell, a talented violinist, had recently moved to Briar Hollow, seeking solace and a fresh start away from the pressures of city life and the recent failure of her career. She was drawn to the old concert hall, intrigued by its mysterious allure. While exploring its derelict corridors, she discovered an attic filled with forgotten relics. Amidst the cobwebs and broken furniture, she uncovered a hidden compartment in the wall. Inside lay an ornate box containing an ancient, beautifully adorned score, its pages yellowed with age. The title read, Sonata di Ombra, but the music inside was unlike anything she had ever seen. Rising action. Elena's curiosity quickly turned into obsession. She brought the score home, carefully setting it on her grand piano. As she began to practice the melody, an eerie atmosphere enveloped her small apartment. The music was hauntingly beautiful, but it carried an undercurrent of something unsettling. Late at night, the notes seemed to echo through the walls, and shadows danced ominously in the corners of her vision. It wasn't long before the strange occurrences began. Elena found her violin out of tune, despite her careful maintenance, and cold drafts swept through her apartment, even with the windows tightly closed. Her once peaceful nights were disturbed by inexplicable whispers and fleeting glimpses of spectral figures. Her friends and family grew concerned about her growing obsession with the score and her increasing isolation. One evening, as she played the sonata with an intense fervor, the lights flickered and dimmed. The melody seemed to come alive, wrapping itself around her like a sinister embrace. The temperature plummeted, and a dense fog began to seep through the cracks in her apartment's walls. Elena's anxiety reached its peak, but she couldn't bring herself to stop playing. The music was consuming her, drawing her deeper into its dark allure. Determined to understand the origins of the score, Elena visited the local library and consulted with the town's historian, Mr. Thomas Hawthorne, an elderly man with a wealth of knowledge about Briar Hollow's history. He was initially reluctant to speak of the concert hall, but after some persuasion, he reluctantly revealed that the Starlight Auditorium had a dark past. The town had been haunted by strange occurrences and tragic accidents throughout its history, all connected to a mysterious pact made by a long-dead composer. Climax. Elena's research led her to discover that the Phantom Composer, as he was called, had been a celebrated musician in the 19th century. Desperate for fame and power, he made a dark pact with an otherworldly entity. To secure his legacy, he promised his soul and the souls of others as sacrifices in perpetuity. His pact bound him to the score, which carried the curse of his malevolent spirit. One fateful night, as the full moon cast its pale light over the town, Elena's apartment was invaded by a chilling silence. The music of the sonata resonated through her bones, growing louder and more insistent. The ghostly apparitions of the Phantom Composer's victims appeared, their spectral forms twisting and writhing in anguish. They seemed to be urging her to continue playing, their faces a grotesque mixture of sorrow and rage. The concert hall, now a site of nightmarish visions and spectral phenomena, became a battleground between Elena and the Phantom Composer. The once grand stage was transformed into a realm of terror, with shadows reaching out and supernatural forces closing in. Elena's every attempt to escape was thwarted by the malevolent spirit's influence. The music had become a trap, pulling her deeper into its fatal embrace. Falling action. Desperate to break free from the curse, Elena uncovered a hidden journal in the attic, detailing the composer's final moments and the ritual required to dispel the curse. The journal described a complex process involving the destruction of the score and a ritualistic cleansing of the concert hall. With renewed determination, Elena returned to the concert hall, now a twisted reflection of its former self. Armed with the knowledge from the journal, she performed the cleansing ritual while battling the spectral forces that tried to thwart her efforts. The sonata's melody grew chaotic, a cacophony of torment as the phantom composer's spirit fought to maintain its hold on her. As Elena completed the ritual, the cursed score was destroyed in a burst of spectral flames. The haunting music reached a fever pitch before abruptly ceasing. The spirits of the composer's victims were freed from their torment, and the concert hall's oppressive atmosphere lifted. The ghosts dissipated into the ether, leaving behind an eerie calm. Resolution. In the aftermath, the Starlight Auditorium was finally at peace. Elena emerged from the ordeal physically and emotionally scarred, but triumphant. She was hailed as a heroine in the town, her bravery and resilience restoring her reputation as a musician. The concert hall was preserved as a historical landmark, its dark past now a cautionary tale. Elena's career was revitalized, and she used her music to honor the victims of the cursed sonata. Her performance of the piece became a symbol of her triumph over the darkness that had nearly consumed her. Elena's experience became a testament to her strength and the enduring power of music to confront even the darkest forces. The Starlight Auditorium, once a place of terror, now stood as a reminder of her harrowing journey and the indomitable spirit that overcame it.
Thank you for joining us on this journey into the darkness. We hope these chilling stories kept you on the edge of your seat. If you enjoyed the night's tales, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest horrors. Share your thoughts and nightmares in the comments below, and let us know which story haunted you the most. Until next time, remember, the scariest stories are the ones that linger long after the lights go out. Sleep tight, if you can.